Welcome to the Heart of Fauquier podcast. I am here with Leah today, and she's a super special guest with a new business here in Marshall, Virginia. So I'm excited to talk to her and for her to share about her family and this business that they're running now. And it's the Rosemary here in Marshall. So you're probably familiar with the rooms up there, which is a part of the Rosemary here. But before we get into things too much, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and your family and just kind of, if you're local here, different things like that.
Okay, perfect. Well, my name is Leah Washer. My family and I own the Rosemary, which was previously known as 8393 West Main, right on Main Street in Marshall. We've only had the property for about 2.5 to 3 months, so we're still new business owners, but we have been in the Marshall and Plains area for probably, my husband and I currently live in Orleans, but before that we lived in Marshall for about 3 years, and then we moved out to our farm out in Orleans. We've been there for about 1.5 years. So we are new. I'm a new business owner. I have no experience in the business ownership field. My husband and his family own a financial practice in the Plains called ICS Financial. So go to them for all of your financial service needs. So they are very experienced business owners. The practice as a whole has been around for about 20 or so years. So they are very experienced in this realm of business ownership. And I am the general manager of the Rosemary. So the three of them, my husband, his parents, my mother and father-in-law, have kind of guided me through this process and just learning about the ins and outs of owning a business, what to do, what not to do, and we have kind of grown from there.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I got to meet your husband last week when I was here for a networking event, and also your mother-in-law, so that was pretty awesome. And he was saying he loves the farm and everything, and that's a newer thing for you though, right? You recently have that?
So we lived, like I mentioned, we lived out in Marshall. The farm was purchased in 2016. He and I actually moved there in February of 2018 and lived there for a couple years before heading out to Orleans. But we thought that was going to be our forever home, and Marshall, which it still is, was going to be our forever town. But we quickly learned with how 66 was expanding, our farm was right off of 66. For right now, it was fine, but we didn't know how, in 15, 20 years, was 66 going to be essentially knocking at our front door. So we figured, let's move while we can, and we found a beautiful farm. It's 108 acres out in Orleans. Are you familiar with the Orleans market?
Not too much. Okay,
well, it is a good time on a Friday night or a Tuesday night. I mean, there's people all the time. It's really fun. So we're a couple miles away from there, and we currently raise rabbits. So my husband and I should say, live out there now. His parents are building out there. They just broke ground about a month ago.
Super cool.
So we have rabbits, we have turkeys. We have one turkey who's going to be our Thanksgiving turkey. And
Does he know it yet?
We know it. He kind of figured it out once his siblings were suddenly gone and he got thrown in with our chicken coop, and he's looking around and he's like, oh my God, I'm bigger than all of these animals that are this big. And he's probably, I think, 40 pounds. He comes up to like mid-chest. So he is a honkin' dude. He's huge. Oh yeah. So we are big into conservation. We're big into hunting and just being able to provide for ourselves and our immediate family and extended family. So we feel as though Marshall long-term is going to be a really great fit for everything that we want and, want as a family and everything that we're looking to offer the community.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very cool. And it's so exciting that it's a family business. So both the financial management company started as, family business with your husband. Is he partner, I guess they would call it, or
so
whatever?
My father-in-law started the practice about 20 or so years ago. He and my mother-in-law, Mike and Melissa Washer, they're very nice people if you ever run into them. And then Regan came into the practice probably, 5-6-ish years ago, so they have been running it joint ever since.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So cool. And so let's talk a little bit about the Rosemary then. What all do you offer here?
So we are currently sitting in our drawing room, which is our event space. It holds about 75 to 80 people. And we also have a greenhouse that's available for weddings, events, any types of things. And then we have 3 luxury Airbnb rooms upstairs. So the previous owner, he did a really great job at marketing, building connections, and he was kind enough when we purchased the building to give us all of his contacts, any types of information, all of his marketing information. So that transition process was made a little bit easier than if we came into it with nothing. I mean, his name is Daniel J. Moore. He's very nice. He owns an interior design company, so we owe him a lot for kind of getting the business up and running. But we are definitely looking to expand into the events industry. And we know it's a saturated industry, but Virginia is such an up and coming, especially this area, because of the wineries, the breweries, the mountains, and just the overall scenery. We have thankfully gotten a lot of people interested in weddings, baby showers, bridal showers. We've done big events like that, and then we've also done some sort of smaller scale, I guess is the right word, events like fundraisers. We do paint and sips. We're getting ready to host a charcuterie making class, which I definitely need because I cannot decorate a charcuterie board to save my life. And then just other types of smaller classes, cookie decorating classes for the fall. We're going to have Santa come in December for pictures. So we're really just trying to get the building out there a little bit more and tell everyone, you know, the Rosemary is under new management and this is what we have to offer, and that everybody should come see it.
Awesome. And then you even have regular yoga classes in this room, right?
So we do have yoga. You did your research. Yes, so we do have yoga classes multiple times a week, in addition to Pilates classes and Tai Chi classes. So we have everything listed on our website. Our yoga classes are super popular. So we have probably, I'd say, anywhere from 8 to 15 people per class. And aside from one class, every class is $10. So very manageable in comparison to like a $50 yoga class in Middleburg or anything like that.
Very cool. And it's interesting, you said it's kind of a saturated market with venues, but I think a lot of people come to this area, so there's a lot of need as well. And it seems like this is a unique place because you're talking about wineries and everything. Those are more larger venues, whereas this you said is, you know, 75 people. So are there a lot of small venues as well, or does that make you unique to be small to medium sized?
So it's a little bit of both. So COVID was detrimental for so many reasons, but on the plus side, so many people realized we can do micro weddings. So they want something small and intimate with their closest family and friends for health reasons, but also for financial reasons, because weddings are painfully
ridiculously expensive.
There was one place that I looked at. We got married about 3.5 years ago, and I looked at them, and it was about $12,000 or $13,000 just to get in the door. And reserve the space. And my family said, if you want to do this, you have to include like 5 people in your wedding party, because it was just so expensive. So that was one thing that has kind of played into our favor, I guess is the right way to say it, because everybody wants something intimate, but they still want to be able to invite, you know, their parents, coworkers who they've heard a lot about but never actually met. So this is a really nice, in my opinion, this is the perfect number, because you can have, you know, your husband's golf buddies or whoever it is that you've never met, but you can also have the people that are the most important to you. So the drawing room, which is where we are now, this room holds 75 to 80 people. Our greenhouse is also available, and that holds about 35 to 45 people comfortably. So we did a wedding. At this point, it's probably a month ago, and they had about 40 people in there, and everybody fit fine. They had a beautiful arch in there. It was during that big rainstorm hurricane we had about a month ago, and they called us 3 days prior. Their wedding was on a Saturday. They called us on a Wednesday and said, my venue canceled. Can we please have our wedding here? And we said, oh my God, absolutely. So my mother-in-law, I was sick, but my mother-in-law stepped in and she made sure the whole thing ran perfectly. And it did rain, but the couple still got married. So at the end of the day, we can't ask for anything more.
Awesome. Very cool. And I also love that I don't know of any other venue that has, the rooms in addition to the venue, and it's kind of all a big package deal if you want it to be. So I really love that, because when my wife and I got married, we stayed in not an Airbnb, I guess it wasn't as popular then, but a B&B, and like the different wedding parties, but you can kind of combine that here and everyone's together, so I like that a lot.
So we actually have a wedding. They're getting married at Field in Maine, but the bride and her bridal party are getting ready here on Thursday, Friday, and then I think the wedding is Saturday, but they're here in 2 days, so after this I have to go upstairs and make sure everything is ready for them. But we do really like that aspect, because in most cases you have to, like you said, you have to kind of go off-site or you have to look somewhere else. And in the town of Marshall as a whole, there's not a lot of places to stay unless you have family or friends in the area. And there are some Airbnbs, but sometimes people want just something more. So that's what we have to offer. We have 3 luxury Airbnb rooms upstairs. And the previous owner, who I mentioned, he's an interior designer. He did a fantastic job decorating all of the rooms. Amazing. Have you seen them?
I have.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yes. So when we purchased the building as a whole, everything conveyed. So luckily we didn't have to worry about finding furniture and linens and rugs and things that could all go in. He made it look very cohesive, but each room kind of has its own theme, and all of the rooms are very, in my opinion, they're very cozy and comfortable. It's not like going into some uber fancy place where you're like, oh, I shouldn't sit on the bed or the couch. The linens are so comfy, the bed is so big that sometimes when I'm cleaning, I'll just plop down on the bed for a couple minutes and then keep going throughout my day.
Right. And then you also don't have to worry about going to the sketchy motel discount place.
Oh yeah, my husband and I have stayed there, a time or two, and it's a Motel 6 that is, you're like, I don't know if I should use this pillowcase or should I put my t-shirt on the pillow, which I've definitely done. So I do all of the maintenance interior wise for the building, so the cleanings of the rooms, and then like we were talking about off camera, my father-in-law and my husband are the ones doing all of the external maintenance. I mean, the 4 of us as a whole definitely chip in. It is team effort, family effort. We couldn't do it without all of us doing it together. But my husband and father-in-law are doing the lights, they're doing the landscaping and the lawn, they're making sure we don't have leaves in front of the building. And then my mother-in-law, Melissa, and I are doing the rooms, the maintenance on the inside, the laundry, everything like that. So luckily, we work very well together. I mean, anyone who is part of a family-owned and operated business knows that sometimes it's frustrating working with family, but at the same time, it's best case scenario because you argue about something and then 2 minutes later it's resolved and you can move throughout the day, because as a family you have this ability to lay it all out on the table. In the Washer family, we have no room to harbor any type of resentment. You say your piece, you get it out, you duke it out. If it's ugly or not, it doesn't matter. And then a couple minutes later, we're moving on and having lunch, and that's just how it goes.
Good.
So I feel very lucky to have married into a family that can be so blunt, but also be so quick to, search for a resolution, whatever it may be, whether it's personal, business, anything like that. It's definitely made me grow as a person, and I wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's nice.
Yeah. And you've done a good job so far, obviously, with
Thanks.
everything. So I've only seen so much on social media and then visiting last week for something. But yeah, it's a beautiful place and everything. I love that you brought up the family aspect and how it's meshed really well. You kind of work as one unit. What's been a challenge maybe? And because you mentioned a benefit, so what's been a challenge of doing business as a family? And maybe if you can give a tip to, I know you're newer to it, but if you can give a tip to people who have a family business or want to start a family business, how to make it work and not rip your hair out.
So I would say this is kind of a twofold question. So I got sick maybe mid-September. So the challenging part for me, I left my previous job. I was in HR for about 4.5 years, and I loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world. My time there was perfect. But once this opportunity presented itself, I kind of realized, at the end of the day, you have your family. You don't have the 6 or 8 hours that you sit at a desk with the company. You have these people that truly have your best interest at heart. And so I figured, you know what? I don't want to drive 45 minutes into my office every day. I'm going to, come and join the family business. After that, I got sick for about 5 or 6 weeks. And that was the hardest part for me, was watching everything happen and knowing that I didn't mentally, physically, emotionally have the strength to help. And my mother-in-law was a saint and just stepped in and did everything that I couldn't do. So that was the hardest part for me, was knowing that everything is still rolling and there was so much that I wanted to contribute, but like I said, I just couldn't. So now everything is fine. I'm in remission. So I am picking up where she stopped pretty much. And she is focusing on ICS, and I can now finally focus full-time all my energy into the Rosemary. I would say my biggest piece of advice for anybody looking to start a family business is probably having, this sounds silly, but from what I've learned, because I haven't been part of it, having patience, but also the importance of spending time together outside of your business. Because if you, in my experience, if the only time you spend together is when you're in the office and everything is high stress, you are talking fast, you're acting fast, you're trying to make this business turn into what you want it to be, that's going to wear on your, what's the right word? That's going to wear on your meshiness as a family, because you were a family before this business started. So last night I had dinner with my in-laws and my mother-in-law's mom, my grandma, I guess. And that was great. And this weekend we are all going to West Virginia as a family and just spending time together, not work related at all. But I mean, patience, patience is probably the biggest one. And what I've learned is just the importance of not thinking about your words, I think, is a good way to say it. Sometimes I want to say something and it's on the tip of my tongue, and I think, you know what? Let me simmer on this for 5 minutes. Is this a constructive thing to say? Is this beneficial? Is this going to help in any way? And if the answer is no, then in 5 minutes I think, do I want to say this again? And then chances are I don't want to say it out loud. So I don't say it.
Nicer, see a different perspective.
And just making sure everyone's on the same page. Do all of your goals align? Are you where? I think my father-in-law and husband are great at this. The financial aspect of this, they can sometimes keep us in check because we have big goals, we have big aspirations. Sometimes we're a little bit more lofty than where we currently are. So making sure you have someone to keep you in check, I think, is also beneficial as well. But if everyone's on the same page, if you have the same drive, you're willing to put in the same amount of work, then you're going to be fine. Yeah.
That's awesome. There were a lot of really good nuggets in there for sure.
Thanks.
I think that's cool. I think that's cool because it's a newer business here, but at the same time, you've been a part of the Washer family for a while, and they've had their business. So I think that's really good with holding back your words and really thinking about it, and then the work. Spending time outside of business, which I mean, all this stuff is really good. Like, spending time working on this and setting goals and, working with guests, but having time away from that where you're not talking about business or
where you're just mom, dad, brother, really sister, whoever, and not just having this big bubble over your head of the business needs to succeed or anything super, super stressful. So I think that's important. And I watched this from the outside for the last 6 years. And those are just little tidbits I learned from my previous job of being in HR is, it's always better to listen more than you talk, in my opinion, aside from right now when I'm talking so much. But when it comes to making sure that a conflict is resolved. You don't want to say anything that you can't take back. Because even if you apologize, just in any bit of life, even if you apologize and you feel so guilty about it, you still said it. And Joe down the street or something, that was a poor example because of Joe's Pizza. I didn't mean Joe.
Someone else. We love
Adam. Joe. Adam up the street is still going to remember Leah made me feel this way. She said this thing, and even if she feels bad about it, she still said it.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want to happen.
Right. And I think you brought up a cool point with Joe being down here.
I know.
This is a really cool community here in Marshall. I've gotten to meet a few of the owners here, and they're really awesome people. So for you to be able to be a part of that is really amazing. So.
I mean, and I'm sure anybody in any smaller town, because we are a small town. We have a stoplight, and in my mind, that is a small town. So we had our grand opening about 2 weeks ago, and we were so lucky that we had so many community members and business owners in the area come and support us. We had Amanda from the Whole Ox. We had a couple people. I'm part of the Fauquier Chamber of Commerce. So we had some people from there come and support. My parents are up in Fairfax. Hi, Mom and Dad. I know you're going to listen to this. We had my parents come up. My old boss, who, thank God, he and I are on great terms. His wife and her sister-in-law came out. So we had a lot of support from the community, and it's so much fun to be not part of the community, but on the business side of it as well. You see everything with a different perspective. In my opinion, you have a new appreciation for everything, and maybe it's just because I'm newer in the business ownership side of things. But I mean, all in all, this is such a cool place to be a part of. And it's so sincere. Everybody's sincere. It's a very niche area, and not to mention it's super up and coming. I mean, once we get all of the traffic cones out from the power lines and everything, I think this is just going to be such a fun place to be in. So we're definitely looking forward to it too.
Awesome. So I have one question for you specifically.
Okay.
As a family, they have the financial business and then a couple buildings as well and stuff. What made you want to buy this, and for you to say, hey, I want this to be my big thing. I'll be the GM. I'm going to run the show. Give this to me. How did that happen?
That's a great question. We had been looking at different types of commercial properties for a while, probably the last year or so, but nothing had lined up in our favor. We were looking at doing storage units. We were looking at another building in the area in both Marshall and in Warrenton, and we thought, this isn't what we want the Washer family to do just yet. And then we have two friends who are realtors, a husband and wife couple, Debbie and Chris Cloud, and they were very on the ball with keeping up in the area businesses that were going for sale, owners that were thinking about selling, things like that. And so we were lucky enough to grab this before it even went on the market.
Oh, wow.
So thank God we didn't have a whole bunch of competition or anything, that anxiety of, am I going to get it? Am I not going to get it? And then just from the initial walkthrough, I think it was back in mid-June of this year, you can't help but want to be here and stay in here when you walk through the building. So we just got very lucky in that sense. And we all fell in love, and then we had a big family meeting and figured out, okay, can we do this? Yes. Why do we think that we can do this? Because we're ambitious, we're motivated, and why not us? Why aren't we going to be successful in this? And not to sound cocky, but we couldn't figure out a reason why we wouldn't be able to accomplish this goal that we had set. My mother-in-law and I, at our previous farm, our dream was to build a wedding venue, an event venue. And so since we moved, we couldn't do that. And now we have it here. So everything luckily just fell in our lap. And we thought, you know what, we're going to give this a shot. And my background in HR, I did a lot of interviews for many, many years. So I thought, this is going to be a good way for me to take all of these years of skills that I've learned from my previous job and make myself uncomfortable in the best way, because that's how I'm going to grow.
Right.
So by talking to different wedding planners, event planners, brides that are coming in. I had someone that's coming in she came in, I should say, for her son's first birthday, and just meeting and talking to new people. That has helped me grow as a person, even though like I like to think I look calm, cool, and collected on the outside. Internally, I was panicking, but I thought, okay, let's hone in on these skills that I have, and this is why I wanted to leave my previous job and come to this, is because I think that I can.
Yeah.
And I think we're doing a good job. Like I said, it's only been a couple of months, but we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the community, from people interested in having events, having the rooms, renting out all of the rooms. So I think so far it's going well, and I miss my old coworkers, but I don't regret it for 1 second.
Yeah, very cool. You jumped right into it. So
yes, I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. It's so cool. I especially like talking to you and meeting your family because I can kind of put myself in your guys' shoes in our future, because right now we own a commercial cleaning company. That's kind of our bread and butter, like your financial company has been for a lot longer than I've had a cleaning company, but still. And the whole idea of being able to branch out of that and to see you guys do that is, I mean, kind of like an inspiration for me to like, hey, I can do that as well, because that's been a dream. And just kind of seeing how you guys have done it and how you guys have meshed as a family is super cool, because, you know, I know that in the future I want a bed and breakfast kind of thing, and to have buildings, and just to see that dream coming true in these small towns. Like, hey, we're going to do that too. So that's super cool.
I mean, if you think about it, there are so many areas that are growing and just turning into these metropolises of big buildings, more people, everything's turning modern, and there's not a lot of areas that are putting forth the effort to save the historic aspect of the towns that makes people want to come out and visit these areas. So it made more sense to us to invest in, you know, not only the town that we live in, but in an area that is just so rich with history and culture. So we wanted to just stay true to that and who we are as people, and not, you know, I don't know, throw something together in Haymarket that has bigger buildings and just more people. So
I have one final question for you.
Okay.
I know this is a newer endeavor, but you also mentioned how you and your mother-in-law have these really big dreams, and everybody else kind of keeps you in check, like, okay, let's make this happen, but let's figure out how. So what are your big goals for the Rosemary specifically down the road?
That's a great question. We want to give people the event, whatever it may be, a wedding, a baby shower, a bridal shower, a birthday party, a fundraiser. We want to give them the event that they want, period, and make it the least stressful process, I guess, that they could possibly look for. So we're definitely looking to get into the wedding industry. Our, you know, big goal is to be in wedding wire and the knot. Tons of businesses in the area are, and so we want to join, you know, Blue Valley and Barrel Oak and the Salamander, not in size obviously, but just in like the number of reviews and how happy the customers are once they leave and their wedding or event is done.
Were weddings done here before you guys started? Okay.
Not a ton,
right?
But I would say, you know, 15 to 20 per year.
Okay.
So that's definitely our biggest goal, and just to let everybody in Marshall and the surrounding area know that the Rosemary is up and running, and we are available for our community.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's been amazing to meet you and talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, and your family. So definitely check out all their social media. Everything.
I run it all, so if you have constructive criticism, please let me know.
No, everything looks amazing. So then you can see the different ideas they have, the different spaces. Take a look on there at what the rooms look like, and this room we're in here. You just posted a picture of the greenhouse, and that was really neat. However that wedding was done,
I don't know, that was
awesome.
the previous owner gave us everything, so his pictures from his previous events. So I found that picture of both, you know, a cake hanging in the greenhouse, and then these beautiful gold couches against the wall in there. And I thought, oh my God,
what's available.
There's so much that we can do.
Partner up with your neighbor down
Bella
here.
Villa.
Yeah, Bella Villa. with all
Rosanna
of her
is
stuff.
great.
There you go.
Yes.
So with your wedding planning. So
Yeah.
definitely check them out and book them for your next event and use the rooms up there as well. So
Thank you.
we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of The Heart of Fauquier. If you loved joining us today, give this podcast a great review and subscribe to keep up with new episodes. If you have an office in Fauquier that needs a cleaning service, reach out to Bedrosian Cleaning Services and see how they can serve you. Until next time, thanks for listening.